Hi, I'm Mrs. Klein, and this is my video about Charles R. Drew. When I first chose to research Dr. Charles R. Drew, my research question was, why was our school named after Dr. Charles R. Drew? However, after conducting research, I didn't find a really satisfying answer to that question, so I adapted my research question to say, how did Dr. Charles R. Drew contribute to the field of medicine? And through my research, I was able to find tons of information to answer that. But some of the most important things I learned were that Dr. Drew was the first African American to earn a Doctor of Science in Medicine degree. He was also the first director of the American Red Cross Blood Bank. And that's partially because he helped develop a device that separated plasma from blood, and by separating plasma from blood, um, you were then able to bank blood, to store blood for longer than 2 weeks without it breaking down. So his device proved to be really important when World War II occurred, and he was the director of the Red Cross. Now, one of the ironies of his story is that Dr. Charles R. Drew, he argued that um, blood did not depend on race, that people of different races could have the same blood. What mattered more was blood types. But the Red Cross did not follow his guidelines, leading him to eventually resign. Dr. Charles R. Drew impact is still felt today. His innovation led to the development of blood banking, which is something that people still use today. And that's my personal connection to him that I was able to make. I still remember the first time I donated blood. I was in college during September 11th, 2001. And after the terrorist attack, there was a lot of calls for people to donate blood, that blood bank supplies were low. So I remember donating blood for the first time. I also learned that my grandmother was severely anemic most of her life and had to have several blood transfusions. So his work also directly impacted me through my grandmother. This is the patent for the device that he developed along with the other doctors, Dr. Scudder. And one thing that I think Dr. Charles Ardreux really taught me that really inspires me is that sometimes your impact might not be felt in the moment, but that's not a reason to give up. Like I explained earlier, he was trying to fight against racist assumptions about blood. He resigned from the American Red Cross because they would not listen to him. And even though they did not listen to him at the time, a few years later in 1948, they did finally accept that race and blood had no connection, and that blood type was what mattered in terms of donating blood. So, Charles R. Drew can teach us all that scientific knowledge can lead to breakthroughs. And even if people don't believe you right away or people don't accept your findings right away, eventually your hard work will come um, to fruition. And that is my research on Dr. Charles R. Drew.